Made in America. Made in America.
Our special thanks to Toby Keith for his appearance today on the Dave and Dujanovic Show to help us tell the story about products made in America. Dave and I just went over a lengthy list of things that I didn't realize were made in America, like my KitchenAid stand mixer that I've had since the 1990s.
I'm glad you bring that up. Made in America? That one's made in America? Yeah. How much does that cost?
$429 to replace that thing.
What do you get? You get the mixer and you get the bowl, right? Yeah. Maybe a couple of hooks or something?
Yeah.
Okay. The Nurxiovo Pro 3-in-1 stand mixer that you can get at Walmart is made in Tianjin, China. You get a meat blender, a juice extractor, a mixer, and like 900 other things for $115.
President Biden would have something to say to you about that.
There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here, when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas.
Yeah, New Balance shoes, made in America. Tesla, made in America. Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Your favorite is the double chocolate brownie fudge chocolate chip.
First of all, Haagen-Dazs is the best. Ben & Jerry's is, it's all right.
Mustangs are made in America. I assume Gustavo, who produced this segment for us, means Mustang cars, not Mustang horses. Okay, Mustang cars are made in America.
Yes, there's a fair amount of Mustang horses that are produced in America as well.
But how much is that going to cost you if more products are made in America, David?
That's a great question. A lot more, I would think. So we wanted to reach out to Utah Manufacturers Association. Todd Bingham joins us right now. He's the president and CEO. And Todd, I would guess when the president started his Made in America segment of the speech, you were probably cheering right along with him.
You know, music to my ears, I guess you could say.
I would imagine so. A little foot tapping.
Yeah,
what does that mean practically? Because I think, you know, if I were to look on the back of a lot of my clothes and things that I buy, it certainly doesn't say made in America. It's not something that I go around really looking for. But practically speaking, is it possible?
You know, it is, Dave and Debbie, and thanks for having me on the show. You know, maybe just to start out, just a couple little pieces of information. I mean, this is a massive industry in the state of Utah, massive industry in the country. I mean, it's $2.57 trillion just in the third quarter of last year. And so, you know, there are a lot of options for reshoring. You know, multiple years ago when President Trump put the tariffs on and then China retaliated, we actually saw companies go back to China because of the cost of those taxes and tariffs. But ironically, now with a change in administration, we're looking at reshoring. Certainly the pandemic has had a big impact on the public's perception of reshoring and what that really means and what we ought to be looking at.
So define reshoring for us, for those of us who aren't in your industry.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Debbie. You know, I mean, manufacturing operations, or any operation for that matter, back to the U.S. from overseas, you know, and bringing it back to their home country. Or in some cases, we're talking about bringing it back as close as we might get it, meaning Mexico or Canada, which there's a huge effort to do that right now in the last decade.
Todd, in the past when we've brought you on, I think one of the big selling points to manufacturing in Utah is it's a good paying job. What's the average starting wage for a manufacturing job in Utah?
Yeah, you know, it bounces around a little bit, but if I were to take all the segments of the industry, food, outdoor rec, bio life science, metals, materials, all of that, you're going to be looking somewhere between $17 to $19 an hour on the starting wage. The average wage for a manufacturer in the U.S. Is just over $92,000 a year, including benefits. So these are living wage jobs, and jobs that are, you know, in our state pay on average around 28 to 32% higher than the average wage. Now that's going up, and obviously we've seen with COVID lots of increase in wages in a lot of industry.
Now those numbers are exceptional, and if I'm telling my son or advising my kids where to work, I would say absolutely look at manufacturing. Here's the flip side. Minimum wage in China is $4 an hour, less in smaller regions. How do you compete financially when you've got incredible undercutting in other countries in the world?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dave. And again, we've been battling the low wage and the middle income class in Asia for decades now, and that wage has increased. The middle income segment in Asia has increased, and as it's increased, it's been much more feasible to look at reshoring. There are a lot of factors when you look at reshoring and bringing those jobs back to made in America, and those include wages, of course. They include shipping, logistics, even much more since the pandemic. It's the global supply chain. What is the availability of the components, pieces, and parts that you're grabbing and using to build those pieces and those items? And so as we look at that, many of our manufacturers, in fact, 83% surveyed in 2021, were interested and extremely likely to reshore versus 54% in 2020. So there are some things that inhibit that, and that is that it's a very capital-intensive business. But I've got some thoughts for you on how you can reshore more effectively and what manufacturers have to do. You want to hear a few of those?
You bet. Go for it.
So here's a couple things that companies really have to look at in the U.S. that they're doing now, and that is productivity. The way to beat the low wage is to be able to produce a product with less waste, with more automation, more technology. And so as the U.S. leads out on technology and manufacturing, when I say lean, what I mean, guys, is the elimination of something in the process that doesn't add value. The king of this was Ford Motor Company, who became with the assembly line, and then Toyota really perfected this, is to say, how do we look at a process? If something in our process doesn't add value, we get rid of it. As we automate, we become more highly technical. We increase the technical skill of the individual who works within the manufacturing facility. They become higher technically trained. The wage increases because they add more value to the manufacturing process, and we win in bulk productivity, performance, and the value of the product. As I listened to Dave a little bit earlier, I've got to say, Dave, you're just a cheapskate. And I say that somewhat.
True. I get it.
Let me just remind our listeners that we're talking to Todd Bingham. He's the president and CEO of Utah Manufacturers Association. We asked him to call in today because of this this rallying cry to have more products made in America. And I've always felt this way: if I can afford to buy an American-made product, I'll lean in that direction. But the reality so often, Todd, is when I go shopping and I'm price shopping a product, a lot of times it's more expensive.
Yeah, and there are certain products, I'll tell you this right now, from the textile industry, that is something that is dominated in Asia and India. And if you look in your clothing, and being the job that I have, I work really hard to purchase products that are made in the USA. The textile industry is very difficult. It is dominated in Asia because of those lower labor costs. When you start getting into products that are repeatedly made and automation can come into the factor, you really start to look at that. Again, locally, just in Utah, and Debbie, to your point, it's hard to buy things sometimes that are made in Utah or made in the USA when you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Right? And so many of us, I think we would rather buy a product that's locally made and support that. Everyone loves the Buy Local campaign. We've actually started a campaign that's Utah made to try and help our companies and our individuals know what's made. Sweet Candy Company, your favorite little orange sticks and cinnamon bears, made here since the early 1900s. I guess nearly everyone out there has a Lifetime table or a chair in their house here in Utah. Very popular company. Kayaks, 3. Yeah, those are all made here in Utah.
I know they make coolers too. I've looked at buying one of their coolers.
Amazing coolers, rather than go buy a Yeti, buy a Lifetime. Half the price, same product, blow molded, made right here in Clearfield. BlendTech blenders, Storm bowling balls, the #1 recognized bowling ball on the Professional Bowling League is made right there in Brigham City. Easton Products, Hoyt bows, Bridgestone golf balls, all these things made right here in Utah. I mean, the list goes on, but to your point, Debbie, if we don't know what's made here, then we can't make that conscious decision when it makes economic sense to support Made in America. And I'm the first one to tell you that there are a lot of things that don't. Effort to reshore is a very laudable goal. Policies need to be made at a very federal level and a state level to help our manufacturers figure out how to do that. And I think that for the most part, the general public is willing to spend a little bit more for a high-quality made product that is made here in the U.S. But in many instances, we've got to get those numbers closer together.
Yeah, we got to be in the ballpark, right? I mean, we got to be in the ballpark, and that's the thing. I'll spend a little bit more to buy American. I'm not going to double or triple the budget because it's just unaffordable. And then I look at the State of the Union where President Biden is pushing for a 15% minimum tax for corporations. That's probably not going to help reshore a lot of these manufacturing businesses. Todd Bingham, thank you.